In making plans to take 64 and more across the ocean to Ireland, I wondered, how would I discover my 4 interviews? It took only a few minutes of posting my exciting travel news on Facebook to receive my first Ireland interview suggestion. It was from a gentleman of Irish descent who contacted me to share that he traveled to Ireland quite a bit, and a place that he loved to stay was a large manor house bed and breakfast in the west of Ireland called Lismacue House. He suggested I contact the owners, Jim and Kate Nicholson, to interview them about their gracious Irish estate. And so I did. And following the Nicholsons' affirmative reply, I began researching and discovering the architectural and natural wonders that define Lismacue. What I didn't learn was the story behind the story of this remarkable couple and their home that they have fought for and love.
We met at the Dublin Horse Show.
No, we met before that.
Here we go. Hang on, folks.
Would you say the Leash Hunt Ball?
I would say the Leash Hunt Ball.
The Leash Hunt Ball.
2 years previously.
What is the Leash Hunt Ball?
It was a hunt dance in the winter time. Most hunts run hunt balls or dances to raise funds and as a social outlet.
When you say hunt, what does that mean?
Foxhounds.
Fox hunting.
And is that something you both grew up doing?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
You
No,
didn't.
I only got into fox hunting when I joined the army. It was obligatory for cadets to ride, and I suddenly found I had a liking for it.
I started riding at 4.5. I grew up on a stud farm where we breed horses, and we breed horses for racing. And my father hunted a lot. My mother did up until 2 or 3 years before I was born. So I grew up riding ponies and following hounds from when I was 8 years old.
Was it an idyllic childhood?
Yes.
And what
Yes,
about
it
you,
was.
Jim?
It was tough growing up on a small farm in the west of Ireland. I think it was Galbraith who said, when you've grown up on a small farm in the Midwest of America, there's nothing tough in life after that. So I think you'd equate it to Ireland, to the west of Ireland, where if you grow up on a small farm, everything is hand done, very little machinery. So really, it prepares you for life.
Now, you first meet at a hunt.
Met
A
at
fundraiser.
a hunt dance, and then we didn't see one another for, I suppose, about a year and a half.
When do you meet again?
We met at the Dublin Horse Show. That was in 1975.
I remember meeting her. We went to we were invited to a barbecue. I was with somebody else.
So it was just like meet or say hello and bye-bye.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like it was necessarily love at first sight.
I wouldn't have said so. No. It was later on in the week. I think when I took her out to dinner, a most sumptuous dinner, I might add. I then went to pay with vouchers.
Last of the big spenders.
I had agreed to take somebody else out to dinner on these vouchers because we'd won them.
The friend who introduced us the second time.
Got it.
It was her free meal.
So what were your thoughts of him after that?
I wasn't quite sure. I wasn't sure what the supply of vouchers was like.
Things developed from there.
How long did it take?
I'd say 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Yeah.
And then what happened?
I proposed to her.
I thought about it and I said yes.
In 6 weeks?
Yeah.
What happened in those 6 weeks? You weren't even in the same town to see each other, were you?
No.
No, but I went up and down to Dublin to see her. No, I was working at home.
On the farm?
Yes, I was working, basically doing a lot of the secretarial work and practical work on the stud farm.
I was a captain in the army. I was a staff officer in Army headquarters in Dublin. So I started studying for the bar. So I was studying at just done a year at the bar when I met Kate. And
How long do you take to get married?
6 months.
6 months. Met
6 of
in
something.
August and married in March.
Did your families have any reservations?
I wouldn't say any reservations, grave reservations.
Both sides?
Both sides.
Both sides, yeah. They all thought it was a bit quick, you know.
Did you?
No, I didn't think it was, I made my mind up, that was it. I think it was the best decision I've ever made.
And how many years?
40 last March.
And how many children?
3.
What's been the biggest challenge of being married for 40 years?
We've had challenges, but they weren't connected with our marriage. They were connected with the estate, which Kate's father died suddenly, and we had a huge challenge with inheritance tax. We lost 300 acres as a result. We were almost bankrupted. We had the sheriff at the door, and that was a very close call.
What year was that?
From about 1978
Yeah.
on to about 1985.
And I'm sorry, what year did you marry?
We married in
76.
76.
Oh my goodness, so you only had less than 2 years together.
Correct.
So
Well, less than a year, because Kate's dad died in 77.
Okay.
And I moved back down here, and you stayed in Dublin,
I stayed in
commuted up
Dublin,
and down every
yeah.
week.
And I was still studying at the bar, and I was still in the army, so it was a tough time.
Lismacue House
Yes.
is the name of the beautiful, beautiful manor home. That's the way you describe it, yes?
Yes, it's a large country house.
I would call it much more than that, but okay.
It's been in my family since 1704.
When was it built?
It was the main part of the house was finished in 1813, and it was built onto the wing, which is now the present wing, probably yard buildings from the previous house, which was in the paddock out in front of where we're sitting.
So when you say it's been in the family since 1704, you're talking about the land.
The land.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the house was
And this
built.
part of the house was built finished in 1813, and it probably took a year or two to build.
I would expect. How many acres did it start with, and how many do you have now?
Originally, when my family bought the property, there were 209 acres. Coincidentally, we still have exactly that acreage, but slightly different acres.
And
different
how
fields.
large is this house that we are in now?
The main part is 60 foot square. The wing is 60 by 20. And the main house is 2 floors over basement, and the wing is just 2 floors.
So can you do the math for me?
It's about 11,000 square feet.
When this house was built in 18 or finished in 1815, did you?
13.
13.
Who first lived in this house?
One of my ancestors, William Baker.
And what ancestor, can you trace it? Can you tell us who that was?
He
Yes.
is the uncle of your
Great-great-grandfather.
grandfather.
How long did he live in here?
Sadly, he was killed, he was murdered 2 years after the house was finished.
In the house?
No. And then his son,
No,
his nephew.
His nephew, yeah. His nephew was Hugh Baker, who was your great-grandfather's father.
Okay.
Um,
So great-great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
Great-great-grandfather,
That's it, yes.
yeah.
But your direct great-great-grandfather.
Correct, yeah. 1815 he took over.
So this has been your home your whole life?
From when I was 8 years old, because we lived a couple of miles down the road and moved here after my grandfather died.
Did you ever have any hesitation in sharing with people where you lived and the lifestyle that you enjoyed here?
No.
So you told Jim about Lismacue from the start?
Yes.
And did you have, this is a farm boy, a small farm boy.
Correct.
What's your reaction when you pull in the driveway the first time?
Well, I wasn't really overwhelmed. I had spent 2 years training in the army. I'd lived in large messes on my own after being commissioned.
But this is a stunning manor house. I just wondered if you had any grand reaction to it the first time you came.
Not really, no.
It was just like home?
No, it was like where I'd come from after 18. It wasn't an issue, you know. I wasn't.
It didn't matter.
I wasn't intimidated.
It was just your house. It was just your
It's a house. It
was a
fiance's house.
It's another house.
Yeah.
But you understand that it's not.
True, I understand. I mean, I think we're very privileged to live in this house in this time in the 21st century now. To be able to live in a house like this is a huge privilege. Up to the turn of the 20th century, it would have been quite usual for houses like this to exist. We lost a lot of them. There are very few left, and there are very few people.
Still in the original ownership.
I think this is one of the few houses in Tipperary in the original ownership from the 1600s.
I mean, that's stunning, just factually by itself. But as we walk through, and you were kind enough to let me tour your house today, there's wallpaper that was put up when?
1813. when this part of the house was finished.
For anyone who cares about history or is interested in restoration, we talk about reproduction, so it looks the same. No, you've got the real deal.
It was just before the Battle of Waterloo.
Yeah.